So we're going to get up close and personal for this particular message. The common theme that I've been noticing with this particular retrograde, while we're in retrograde season, because Mercury is not the only planet that's in retrograde right now, and we are in the midst of the 8-8 portal, is that there are a lot of breakups that are taking place. Okay. I've noticed this amongst my private clients, my sessions, especially my counseling sessions. Okay. A lot of things, especially from the beginning of July, have started to crumble for a lot of people, especially when it comes to their spouses, their partners, okay? This can extend to other things like friendships and business relations, but for the most part, I've been noticing I've had a lot of emergency bookings, especially because there has been a broken down relationship that is taking place in a lot of my clients' lives. And I'm talking about relationships that have been maybe 3, 5, 10, and some even 15 years, okay? And what I'm noticing is that with all of this happening for a lot of personal clients, I feel like this is a theme amongst the soul cluster that I'm speaking to. A lot of the relationships that you may be in may be breaking down, and for some of you, you've been clinging on to, like, let's say the last strings of that particular relationship, okay? Or some of you know it deep down, but you do not necessarily want to acknowledge that this relationship, or your spirit, your soul, your intuition is telling you that this is coming to an end, okay? And I know it can be difficult. I myself have been there, done that, okay? So I'm going to share a little bit about my personal journey with you so that you understand, because sometimes a lot of people get on this app and they be speaking about things that they've never experienced or haven't been through. I myself, I mean, a lot of people have experienced heartbreak and things like that, and so on and so forth, and everyone's journey is different. My experience was just over 3.5 years ago. I released a relationship that was no longer serving me anymore. That relationship taught me a lot of lessons. There was a lot of wins in that relationship, but there was also a lot of downfalls in that relationship. When I ended that particular relationship, it was a relationship that I didn't think I would come back from. Oh, I'm getting emotional. It was a relationship that I thought that I would not be able to come back from. Meaning that after that relationship, I didn't know if I wanted to continue life. Do you understand? Ooh. Give me a minute. There's a reason why I'm sharing this. When that relationship ended, literally the next day, I was a singleton. Meaning that the next day, it was literally the 6-6 portal. Okay? So I knew that spirit and source was moving through my life. Prior to this relationship, though, I would say about 7 months before it ended, I was actually getting signs of synchronicity that particular relationship was coming to an end. But I didn't want to believe it. At this time, I wasn't listening to my intuition. I wasn't pouring into myself as much as I should have. I literally gave my energy over to my partner at the time. Like, I was pouring everything into that particular person and what we had going on at the time, okay? And I take responsibility for that. And upon reflection, there's a lot of things that I take responsibility for, and there's a lot of things that I've reflected. And for me, when I come out of relationships, I try not to have bad blood. Obviously, there are feelings of resentment and things of that and so on and so forth, but I do my best to work through it, and I do my best to infuse energy of forgiveness into those past relationships and those dynamics, yeah. And at this point, I have. After that, I went through a process of having to re-find myself, having to understand who I am at my core, having to literally reintroduce myself to the being I call Seraphic. There was a lot of things I had to start over again, okay? I went through a myriad of different emotions. I went through feeling resentment, hating the world, hating people, couldn't stand at some point the skin that I was in, blaming myself. I went through a period of like hating myself because of what I realized I had allowed. In that moment, hating the person that I had just come out of the situation with. There was a lot of emotions I had to work through. And like I said, at that time, I didn't think it was a situation that I could have gotten through, right? But I had the right support. And as much as I had the right support, I didn't have a lot of support, but mainly most of the support came from source, came from the source within me, came from my spirit team and so on and so forth, as well as the support system I physically had around me. If you would have told me at that particular time that the person I am today would have been birthed from that whole situation, I would have said to you that you are lying. Okay, I would have said there's no freaking way. I would have said there is no way that I am in this low down, bottom of the barrel situation and now being in a space where I've got a life that I absolutely love. I'm working with people all around the world. I've been able to take trips to certain countries. Sorry, guys. I've been able to take trips to certain countries that weren't even on my bucket list. Work with certain people that, you know, I didn't even think was possible. You know, I got a diploma in my spiritual counseling course, and there was a whole thing with that. And I made like amazing connections from that course alone. I've really been able to blossom within myself. It hasn't been so much about the material things, but it's been about who I have become. Okay, because of that. It's about who I have become. I've become someone who knows their self even better now. I've become someone who has particular strategies on how to deal with certain things when they get difficult. I've basically rebranded myself. I was able to rebrand my business, things like that, right? I'm saying this all to say, sometimes when you are coming out of relationships, especially when it's a long-term relationship and there's been a lot of ups and downs in that relationship, you don't always know what's on the other side. But let my journey be a testimony. Everything that is on the other side is literally the journey calling you back home to self. Had I still been in that relationship, I wouldn't have met the people that I met. I wouldn't have done the courses that I done. I probably wouldn't have traveled to the places that I traveled to. A lot of this stuff would not have happened for me. There is beauty in the pain. There is beauty in the release. If you're going through a situation where you know deep down that something is not working for you, please listen to that. Because there are certain situations that have to happen in order for us to tap into a certain reservoir of strength, assertiveness, I'm hearing tenacity, that we didn't know that we have, right? And the reason why it's a reservoir is because it's constantly showing you how much there is to you and how integral you actually are, okay? So it might be scary at the minute. You may be living with this person and you don't know where you're going to live. You may have kids with this person and you don't know what you're going to do when it comes to co-parenting. You may be living in a completely different country to where your home family is and things of that nature. Source has your back. This situation that you are in is not crumbling for no reason. There is a blessing and there is a calling upon your life. But that blessing and that calling is on the other side of this release, is on the other side of letting go of what no longer serves you, whether that is a relationship, which I feel like is for a lot of you, whether that is a job, whether that is a home, whether that is a career. There is something on the other side for you, okay? Sometimes our ego tries to protect us by letting us live in fear, okay? But I need you to be in a space of looking above that. I need you to be in a space of knowing that regardless of what happens, you will always be okay. Even for those of you that are in domestic situations, you will always be okay. And I need you to use the examples of maybe in the past where situations weren't working out for you and you still found a way. No food on the table and the next day food appeared. No money in your account and all of a sudden there is money. No one around you to have a shoulder to cry on, and you have a stranger come up to you and give you a compliment and you have a conversation with them and they hold space for you. The things are working out in your favor, and I feel like at this particular time, some of you, and I've said it in other videos, have a big fucking calling upon your life. I'm sorry for my language, but I just have to say it like that. You have a big calling on your life. I mean, masses and crowds of people that you are meant to be inspiring, helping, providing shelter for. But you cannot do it if you are tied to the energies of the past that are not willing to elevate like how you are willing to elevate. So if you're coming out of a situation, forgive yourself for what you experienced. Forgive yourself for the things that you endured. Do your best to not try and see that person in a negative light. Feel the emotions that you feel initially, because I had to go through that. Feel the emotions that you feel initially and work through them to get to a level of forgiveness. Every person who is no longer in my life, whether it's relationships or friendships or even business partnerships, I see them as a guide, as a lesson. What did I learn from that person? What did they teach me? My situation taught me work ethic. My situation taught me how to choose myself. My situation showed me how deep I can love and how deep that love runs within me. My situation taught me partnership and commitment to some extent. Do you understand? I'm choosing to take those wins and those lessons from that, instead of sitting and stewing in negative emotions. You know, it's easier said than done, but it is a process. And it's not to say that, you know, life after a breakup or life after a severance or a release is 100% dandy. I still have my days. Things still come on top of me. Things I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Why? Right? But I'm in a better space to deal with it than I would have been able to deal with it, say, 3 to 5 years ago. And I'm okay with the constant changes and evolution and the awareness that I am gaining every single day. So work on yourself. A few tips that I can give you that really helped me, especially when it comes to breakups, especially from a spiritual perspective. 1, allow yourself to grieve. 2, stretch. I know. It's a weird one. It sounds like a weird one. What the fuck she mean stretch, bitch? Baby, stretch. Let me tell you, especially for not even just women, but women and men, okay? When you go through a traumatic situation or you go through heavy levels of experiencing like emotions that are not necessarily, that don't feel good, you store a lot of that energy in your body, especially your hips. Hips is where you store trauma, okay? Hips and your joints. So if you can be in a space of doing things like yoga, which helps the energy to shift and helps the energy to move, it will better aid in you energetically releasing the energy of trauma that is, you know, staying trapped in your body or wants to be released due to situations that you've been through or even childhood situations that you have been through, okay? Because that trauma of a breakup tends to add on to the trauma that you have experienced as a child, and it just builds and builds and builds. You don't want that. You want to start the process of releasing, okay? Because the breakups have a funny way of having connections to parental figures and past situations that never went well. And while you're doing your best to stretch and energetically release this current trauma, it also has a knock-on effect, a domino effect, where it's releasing the rest of the traumas in your body you've been holding on to for, say, months, years, or even decades, okay? Another thing after, I would say number 3, is finding someone to speak to. Whether that is someone who is a therapist, whether that's a counselor, whether that's just a trusted friend who you can wholeheartedly just have someone to hold space for you, okay? Because sometimes we end up trying to go through these things alone, and us as human beings, we're not meant to be by ourselves. We are meant to lean on others. We are meant to have someone to confide in, and so on and so forth. If that was the case, then some of us would be living on islands by ourselves. If that was really the case, we would not have these reflections and human beings and communal living and things like that. Okay, so find someone that you can confide in. And number 4, journal. Write about your feelings. Write about your feelings. Write everything down, what you're experiencing, because you're going to go through the highs and lows, especially if it's in retrograde, honey. Because honestly, a lot of the clients that I've been working with, some of them I've had to give them extra time because Spirit has said they need that space. And some of them have literally just been on the call where they've just cried for a whole half an hour before they've actually spoken, and we've got down to what we need to do and so on and so forth. Journal. Write this stuff down, okay? And just find other ways of how you can just release this energy, and don't hold it in. Don't try to be like this glass, unpenetrable rock. If you got kids, I totally understand, but be gentle with yourself. Do not beat yourself up in this particular time and a situation that you may be going through. Again, it's easier said than done, but I'm telling you now, you see, when you get to the other side, you're going to be so grateful. You're going to be so grateful. I know I was grateful, okay? You're going to be so grateful. And you will see where Source within you has saved you in a lot of ways. Okay, so yeah, I don't want to make this too long because it's already going on like 17 minutes, but I felt like I needed to share that, and Spirit has been prompting me to share this message. I know it's a slightly different message, but sometimes using your own experiences and having them as testimonies can show other people that they're not alone. Okay, because we got real personal with this, didn't we? We got real personal, okay? This ain't a norm for me, but you know what? We had to do it. So I trust and intend that this finds the people that it's meant to, and I trust and intend that you take something away from it and know that your life is about to get so good. This is just a little hiccup, okay? This is just a little lesson you needed to learn, but on the other side of that is all of your blessings, all of the prosperity, all of the tranquility, all of the rewards, all of the love, okay? All of the living experiences that you wish to live, all of your desires, okay? So yeah, I will see you guys in the next message. I love you. 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 Mwah.